Welcome to a new series. Since I started making videos and content online about working in the industry, I have consistently gotten questions about departments that aren't my own and positions that I have no experience in. And that is where this new series is born. I'm going to be sitting down and chatting with people who work positions that aren't mine, that are in departments that aren't my own, and take the opportunity to ask them not only questions that I have about their jobs, but also that you can submit and ask as well. My idea for how I would structure these conversations is by a level of job position. For example, today, the one that you are watching is for myself and two of my very, very good friends, Ella and Adrian. We are all in different departments. Ella is in stage management, Adrian is in lighting, and I am in sound. But we've all, for the last couple of years, been working at a number 3 position in our department in terms of our rank. That is the idea that I want to keep moving through, deputies, heads of department, creatives, that kind of thing. I wanted to structure it like this specifically because I think not only is the particular department an important part of your job, but also the position you hold within that department holds different responsibilities that are often quite similar. Those are the things that don't really get talked about and don't really get touched on when you do talk to somebody about what their job is. And I think that those are incredibly important to the job that they do. So having that conversation with people who are all experiencing that same responsibility within their department, whether it is in the same exact technical field or not, would open up a place where they can have conversation about those things pretty candidly with each other. For this first episode, I wanted to not only get myself comfortable with the process of sitting and asking some people questions, even though in this one I do give a lot of my own insight because I am in the rank tier position that these other people hold as well. I wanted to sit down with two of my closest friends that I have been incredibly fortunate enough to tour with for the last couple of years and more, really, that I have become very close with. I've had the absolute privilege of watching them grow and achieve in their own positions, in their own departments, in their own ways, and that is something that we've celebrated together. This is something that Adrian touches on during the episode, which did make me want to cry a little bit. I didn't just want these chats to be about the technical aspect of our jobs. Of course, I very much would like us to be able to discuss those things and to answer questions like that, but I also wanted an opportunity for us to discuss the other important things in these positions. Like I said, the responsibilities that you may have being at a different level in your department, and also the interpersonal and personal experiences that you might have working in an industry like this. Both Adrian and Ella are two of the most hardworking people that I have ever had the privilege of knowing. They are the kind of people who bring a level of care and positivity to their jobs and a level of professionalism to their jobs at the same time that I think makes any team they're part of better and is something that I've really been inspired by in my time working with them. So this chat in particular is incredibly important to me, not only because I very, very deeply value the professional opinion and experiences of these two people, but also on a personal level because I have so much love and admiration for these two friends that I have shared so many learning experiences, memories, so much growth and life has happened in the time that I have been touring with these two people. And being able to witness so clearly from the outside how positive of an impact they have on the team that they are part of. So welcome to the first episode of Q to Q. This one's very close to my heart. These people are very close to my heart. We did not get through all of the questions that I had, so I do have an idea to do a follow-up. So if you do have any more questions specifically for Ella, Adrian, or myself, please leave them in the comments, send me a message, and we will do a part 2. If there are any other people that you would like to hear from in specific departments or positions, please let me know and I can endeavour to make those happen. I'm really excited for these conversations, and I hope you are too.
Members of the company, this is your Act 1 beginners call. Cast, can you please make your way to ready mic checks and stand by for the top of Act 1? Crew, can you please make your way to headsets and band to the band truck? Your Act 1 beginners call. Q to Q, go.
My name is Monique. I am a radio mic tech currently, so that means that I am the number 3 in our sound team. I look after all the microphones and do on-stage cues during the show with cast and other crew members. I've worked in many different parts of the industry, live music, lots of fringe, lots of cabaret, small venues, a little tiny bit of what I thought was touring and then was immediately humbled to realise that that was not touring. And now I'm here in theatre. We've been doing the Tina Turner musical for the last 2 years together, and I have now bullied my friends to come on the internet and talk about their job experience because I continuously get questions on my channel. If you're new here, I have a channel. Hello, you're on it right now. That I use to talk about the industry and talk about the experience of being in the industry and what it is like to work in it, specifically in sound. But I get a lot of questions about other departments because backstage is not something that is seen or talked about, usually by design. But that doesn't really help the people who want to get into the industry, know what they need or how to go about it or any of those things. So I've taken all the questions and opened up a platform for people to ask more questions for people in positions that aren't my own. And I bully my friends now to come and give me their career experience.
My name is Ella, and currently on Tina, I'm a deputy stage manager, but I will talk more to an assistant stage manager in theatre. Small rundown of my career is I started out as a mic technician, working for STC for about 6-7 months before COVID hit, and then unemployment. And then I've been in commercial musical theatre since, working as assistant stage managers for a bunch of different musicals, and then sometimes stepping up as a deputy.
Hello, my name's Adrian. I'm currently the touring lighting technician swing.
The goon.
The goon. And my job is rigging and maintaining lights, but then to the day-to-day systems and covering all of the plots that we have in the lighting team, whether that's the floor plots, the follow spot operating, and operating the console during the show as well. I started as a stagehand, as a casual stagehand that just did bump-ins and bump-outs. And then from there, I kind of stumbled into being a lighting technician.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. They were like, oh, you a stagehand? Okay, let's go.
Right.
Yeah, and then I've worked as a lighting technician ever since, through a few different companies and a few different venues. And then now I'm here in commercial theatre. So I've mostly just done lighting for most of my career.
I love that.
I didn't even describe what I actually do for a job.
Oh, yeah. Go on. Throw it in.
I always find really stage management hard to describe what we do.
I think most people would have no fucking clue either.
Yeah.
They would be like, you manage the stage?
Technically,
Which
yes.
is, yeah.
To an extent, as well as mainly the cast. We manage the cast. As an ASM, we're on deck. We also do plots like the lighting team do, making sure that the cast get on stage safely, whether it be torching them in and out of a wing, paging masking out of the way for them, giving them props, just making sure it's all safe for them on stage. Working where I feel like the department that is like the communication between everybody else's department to then bring everyone together on stage is kind of like a small rounded way of saying what we do.
I was going to say you guys also do a lot of scheduling between like other departments. If we have technical runs or production periods, you guys have to go, okay, well, we need this. We need to know which department needs what amount of time to know when they're going to be called and when we're going to need those things. And
Yeah, like it's like every position in stage management is quite different. Like we all have very specific jobs that we do in our department to make the show run.
This wasn't a question I sent you. Sorry about it. How many people are typically in your departments?
For a big commercial musical, usually it's a team of 5. So we have a stage manager, a deputy stage manager, 2 assistant stage managers, and a stage management swing is usually our department.
Because I think you're not classically a toured position, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you're just that fucking good. And they were like, we can't do it without Adrian.
So it really depends show to show how many lighting technicians there are. There will always be the head. There will almost always be the deputy.
Almost.
Not always, depending on how big
smaller
the show
shows.
is. Smaller shows, yeah. My current position was made available because we have so much visual and video elements. So instead of hiring a video tech who won't really do anything day to day, they hired a lighting technician that was able to do things every day if needed. And then we will also have floor Alexas. Alex is shortened version of lighting. We'll have floor Alexas. There may be 1, there may be 2. And
they do like a... Because all I see you do on the on-floor one is fight for your life versus cables and pull lights out of the wings.
Yeah, that's
that
pretty
mostly
much it. That's mostly it, yeah. Making sure cables are out of the way, making sure lights are out of the way.
Throwing it back.
Yeah.
Giving a side stage
Yeah.
performance. Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. You know, in other shows, we'll also change focus of the lights in intermission, or we'll change color gels in intermission, depending on how high tech the show is. And then there's also the follow spot operators, which we know classically as just spotlights. That's what we know them as, but they're called follow spots, or we'll call them domes. And depending on the show, there could be 1, there could be 5, there could be 3 people doming 3 different lights. So they'll run between lights during the show as well. Mostly it's fine. But yeah, it can be anywhere between 1 and 7 people in a team, depending on the show.
That's so wild. Sound is pretty, from what I've seen, sound is pretty classically like 3 people or 2. If it's a smaller show, a head and a deputy, and they sort out the stuff and they get a swing in cities. But the shows that I have been on have all had 3 team members, which I think is kind of, I don't know if it's unique to Australia, but every time I hear about a sound department on the same show I'm on in another country, they're like, the sound number 4. And I'm like, who is that? Who? What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah. When we started Tina, we got given plots from other productions in the world. And I was looking at like 4 plots from all these different countries. And I was like, there's no way that you've done this with just a me. There's multiple people doing these plots. Where? Who? What? So we'll usually have 3, a head of sound, a deputy head of sound, and a mic tech. And then you get a swing in every city. Very, very rare that you would tour a swing. I've never seen it.
Yeah, stage management don't usually tour a swing. We usually pick them up locally in every city.
Yeah, lighting hasn't classically had a touring swing, but because of the power demands and the added technology that we're putting into shows, it's kind of necessary to add a 3rd person now.
Which if you've seen Tina, just even visually looking at the stage, the lighting and the visual is so impressive and just ridiculous.
It's huge. It's massive.
Which is kind of nice because I feel like a lot of shows have really huge like lighting and sound rigs, but it's all hidden. They don't want you to see. It's all hidden behind something, and they're kind of trying to make it look like it's not there. Whereas Tina was like, this is a rock and roll show.
Yeah.
Yep.
More lights, more things. Let's go.
Yeah, and rock and roll classically doesn't have the time to hide those things.
What is your favorite show that you've worked on and why?
One for me that always comes back to mind is American in Paris, I think, because it was my first role as an assistant stage manager, and I was the only ASM on the show, and I was thrown into the deep end. I had to learn so much so quickly on the job. I worked so hard. So I feel like it paid off more in the end. I remember standing there on our very first show with an audience, and I was just like, I'm going to cry watching like the first transition of the show. I was so excited to be there. I was like, I didn't expect myself to be in musical theatre for 10 years out of uni, and I'm already here. And I was just like, I'm just happy to be here.
That's such an interesting.
incredible.
Why did you think 10 years?
I was always told there's just like to get into commercial theatre, it was going to take years and years and years of work.
Because you studied a specific degree to do with this industry, right?
Yes.
What was the actual degree?
It was a Bachelor of Fine Arts in stage management and like technical services or something like
That's
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me. Did you study, Adrian? Do I know this?
Yeah. I did a Bachelor of Creative Arts majoring in theatre.
I just did like a general sound degree. Theatre was not in the brain at all.
Well, I did a diploma before my bachelor, which was just like doing sound, lighting, video, stagehand vibe. So that's all I was originally going to do. And then I decided to do 3 more years, which is where I found my love of stage management. So that kind of worked out well.
I mean, I didn't think I was going to be interested in lighting until I went to uni and did an intro to lighting class.
What do you think?
I was going to perform. I was going to be a performer.
And that checks out.
Yeah.
And you still do, to be very fair.
It's a backstage
In
performance.
every moment of my life.
Yeah, the world is your stage.
No, I was going to perform, and half of my degree was performing. I did vocal classes.
Oh, crazy.
I did stagecraft classes.
It's crazy that they offered that.
Yeah, and then and then I did electives like intro to lighting and sound.
And you went, this is shiny.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
The crow in my brain.
Yeah, and it was just a challenge. I really like having a challenge and learning new things. So it was just like, this is perfect.
American in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
We went on a lovely tangent.
I may as well call this podcast Tangents with Crew Members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the main things I think was the music. Like I've played instruments my whole life. So being part of a show that was like a live orchestra just like always hits me in the feels. Yeah, I think that just being my first show, I learned so much that I think it's always got a soft spot in my heart working on that one.
Cute.
Yeah, it's also just a beautiful show. Like the story's a bit interesting, but just like watching it is beautiful.
Look, I don't think I have a definite answer for this question because every show has their merits. So I could say, because I started in operas, La Traviata was a great show to start on because it was on Hosh. It was outside. It was a slog. It was absolute batshit to work on because it was just such an insane environment. Having next to no experience working in the industry, next
Quite
to none.
literally the actual water deep end.
Like, quite literally. But I had a similar moment where I was doming and I went, oh my God, I'm doing the job I set out to do right out of uni.
Yeah.
Like I just finished uni and I got this job and I was like, this is incredible. This is what I wanted to do. Meanwhile, Tina is the first time I've ever toured on a commercial theatre, which was also a dream of mine to be touring on commercial theatre and to like, because I love musicals and I grew up doing musicals. And I was like, this is incredible. I love this. It's so new and different. I'm learning so much. It's incredible. But then again, there's children's shows. And they're 45 minutes long.
Oh,
you do
yeah.
3 a day
Yeah.
and you're out by 5 p.m.
But you do
Like-
have to consider that. Yeah.
Like, awesome. What a good thing to work on. Because
goofy, fun, lighthearted.
so much fun. And yeah, so I just think every show that I've been on has merit. And it's been incredible to work on. So I don't know that I have one specific show that's my favourite.
I have kind of a tied two. Phantom was definitely a favourite because I remember opening it at the Opera House, which we were all there for.
Yeah.
I turned 25 just before we opened, like the week before we opened. So I turned 25 in the Opera House. I was in a team that made a really big deal about it. Getting to work and like walking into the fucking Opera House and doing the show that as a kid made me love theatre in the first place. Again, with the orchestra thing, even though you don't get that feeling until partway through the first song because the first part of it is track, so the orchestra are just in the pit like, okay, cool, and then the strings come in. But it was like the dream. I just turned this like milestone age. I'm in the most iconic venue in this entire country, doing my favourite show of all time in a team that I really love with all these people that I think are really great. And it was just like, wow, this is fucking cool.
That's awesome.
I regularly think like, what would 13-year-old me think about my life right now? And in that moment I was like, she would think I'm the literal fucking coolest person in the entire world right now. So Phantom always holds a special place for that. But another secret placeholder in my heart always will go to Mary Poppins, because I did Mary Poppins between that indoor tour of Phantom that we did and the Phantom on the Harbour, which was the same vibe of like, this is incredible and traumatic. Like, it's just, the working conditions are a challenge.
Rough.
It is
They're rough,
raining.
yeah.
You are outside.
Yeah. It's getting colder
It's getting colder.
on the coast of Sydney, and so the cold winds.
Cold wind. Like you were never, ever, ever comfortable in your job or physically. Ever. But it felt like such a success because we were struggling so much.
So much fun, and it's like almost the trauma bond of having to do it with everybody, and it's just fun.
It's like that feeling of when you go through production period for the first time on a show and you finally get to opening and you're like, wow, all those obstacles that it's like a euphoria feeling that you share with everyone there of like, we worked so hard to make this happen, but you have it every single day because no day is like, and it ran smoothly and this is great.
Yeah.
Our head of sound operating had to fight off a possum with a broom mid-show one day.
Yeah.
It is a rough work environment. In between those two shows, I did a few months as a swing on Mary Poppins. And that show, not only is it fucking incredible, like it's so fun to watch, it is so much fun to be around. The company on that show for the Sydney season of Mary Poppins in Australia in 2021, 2, what year do we start Phantom? 2021?
2022.
That tour of Mary Poppins, the most recent one, the entire company were the best people ever. Everyone came to work in such a positive mood, ready to just do a great show with everybody else. There was no tension, there were no egos, there was no drama that I ever saw. I was only there for a few months. And it just felt like the show that got away. Like I was so sad to leave it.
Yeah.
Not sad to be more hydrated, because every day I would cry during step-in time. It's just such a massive number.
It
And
is.
it's so, like, you can't monitor it because it's just tapping and yelling in Cockney accents. So I would just take my headphones off and just watch it. And I'd be like crying, because then thinking about like little kids in the audience watching Bert like walk the proscenium, I was like, this is the magic of theatre.
I'm so sad I never got to see that.
It was incredible.
I'm tearing up right now.
Oh, good, you are. I domed for a week on that show
When?
in Sydney.
Did you?
Yeah, I covered one of the head dome. That was one of the hardest and funnest dome plot I've ever done. It was incredible. And that step in time, and when Bert was going up over the thing, and then I was doming Head and Shoulders on him. It was so
I am
much
making
fun.
magic in a
And there's
child's
so many-
life right now.
Yeah, there's so many like frost drops and like color drops, and then
So
like
sick.
quick snap ups and stuff during that show. That was
Yeah.
just so much fun.
What is an aspect of your job that you think people wouldn't expect, even if that includes yourself before you started? Has there been anything that you really needed to work to develop? I feel like ours might be the same.
Patience?
Social skills with cast and other departments in high pressure situations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My little naive brain starting out would just kind of, I struggled.
Yeah.
Really struggled. Especially for stage management, I find that we are constantly having to, you could say, eavesdrop on multiple conversations around you while you're also trying to do your own job, while trying to write down what you're trying to do. And then also be present for a social situation is so much for my tiny little brain. That has been something I'm still working on that a lot of the time. Even like when you got comms on and someone's talking to you on comms, and then you're trying to have a conversation with sometimes you just have to be like, hold on a second, I need to listen to this.
Breakdown.
I call it being pinged by the mothership. You'll be
Yeah,
talking
it's
with
so
somebody,
good.
and then somebody will talk on comms, and then you see their face glaze over and go, okay.
Yeah.
And then the back. And the back.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Social situations with people, because we work with so many different types of personalities and stuff. So just trying to figure out what each of those individuals need every day is a lot.
In a very high pressure situation. Like
Yeah.
it's, no one's just like, oh, well. And especially I think for cast, like if we make a mistake backstage, who's going to know? Maybe the whole company backstage or some of the company backstage.
Yeah.
Maybe the audience. But even if the audience are aware of our mistake, we're not the ones who wear it. The cast are, because they are being
The
seen
faces.
by the audience
Yeah.
and have to like deal with and manage it in front of all those people. I would have a breakdown.
Which can be really embarrassing too.
Yeah,
can be
and
really
you can't stop the show and be like, that's actually not me. That's
Yeah.
this thing that's going. Like
Yeah.
they just have to wear it,
Yeah.
and that's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
I often refer to theatre, commercial theatre, as like the corporate of the entertainment industry, because in all other parts of the industry that I've worked with, it's a little bit more like rough and gruff. It's live music. If someone was being a bit of a dick under a high pressure situation, I could just be like, does that help us right now? Like if it really got to a point of like tension, you can kind of just be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in a situation like theatre, there are so many avenues that they have arranged and organised for conflict or conflict resolution to go through that you have to follow, which is for the benefit of the situation and for the benefit of the longevity of your working relationship with people. There's a system
There's a
in
hierarchy.
place
There's a
that you have to follow. And that was challenging for me because I was like, why would I go and talk to someone? I'm just going to go talk to them. Okay, so what is the process and the method here?
That's where I find my patience has definitely had to be improved, because immediately I just want to be like, oh, this is so frustrating, blah, 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 all the time. But I have to be like, no, take it in, think about it. Then you can have the conversation with who you actually need to have the conversation with.
yeah.
Everyone has a situation that is like going on. Like
Yeah.
for the mic check example, I'm like, they're always late to mic check. But for all I know, they're like struggling to get their wig done in time. There's an issue going on in wardrobe that day. So they're not getting their wardrobe sorted out in time. Like there are so many other knock-on effect things that can affect why a situation is happening. And it's sometimes not always the best, I've learnt, to just jump the gun and be like, what's going on?
Because then also you might just end up asking the question at the wrong time. And then
Yeah.
they're like, and you're like, oh, you need to be on stage in 5 minutes. An aspect of my job that I think I didn't quite expect and people wouldn't expect is, particularly in load-ins and transfers, it's a slog. It's a lot of like, and depending on the show you're on, a lot of manual labor. Like you get so physically tired, and that's like a tiredness that you don't, it's so different from just being tired or being exhausted or whatever.
But you're both.
But you're both.
The fun secret answer of both.
But you're both. And it's such long days.
Yeah.
For weeks at a time.
For weeks at a time. And you're just, you feel it in your bones. Like it can be really hard. It can be a really hard couple of weeks loading in. And like our lights, some of them are 12 kilos. Some of them are 30. There's lifting those lights. There's getting them where they need to go. There's people who may not know how to lift properly. So then you're there teaching people how to lift a light.
The patience to teach people how to do things during
manual
loadings.
handling of that, because I've had people pull out my shoulder because they don't realize they're picking up things with another person and you can't just run ahead with it. That kind of a thing. I think a lot of people don't realize how intense it can be on you physically.
Which I don't think I realised that even until I was in it and was like, fuck, I just need to get it together and do this because everyone else is doing it. But for a brand new show, your production period, you're looking at like a couple months.
Yeah.
You're looking at like 8 weeks of load-in, technical rehearsals, previews.
And we had, for this show in Sydney, we had technical rehearsals while we were still rigging lights because they weren't in the right spot, and we had to keep taking them down and putting them back up, taking it down, putting them back up, climbing while you're doing it. Like it was a lot. Like we were tired.
And pretty classically, our hours for a period like that are from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah, they're
Is it 8 to 10?
14-hour days,
14-hour
10-hour
days.
turnarounds. Yeah.
Which is a lot. And then like a day off.
Yeah. It can be
heaps.
pretty grueling.
If you are related to or friends with someone in this industry, you know that those periods are that shit because you're like, why have you just completely disappeared? And they're like, I am a shell.
Yeah, I don't respond to any messages in that time. Like I never look at my phone on those days, even in lunch and dinner breaks. Even when I'm home, I do not look at my phone because I just can't. There's no time to get into it. Yeah.
And the question of like, how was your day? What did you do? You're like, both so much and absolutely nothing that I can tell you.
Yeah.
All you want to do is just go straight to sleep.
Yeah. And you need it.
Yeah.
You need it so much. Anything I've worked on, patience is a big one too. But going into lighting, I don't think I really knew that much about electricity. And that's a big part of my job. It's a big part of my job. I need to know stuff about electricity. So I've had to work on that a lot because it wasn't something that like came naturally to me. Yeah. I didn't know that much about it other than like the stuff you learn in high school, science. Yeah. But yeah, well, that's something I had to work on.
Yeah. You did remind me of another thing that I had to work on, which is that I studied a sound degree, which I hated and ended up dropping out of after a long time. It was mostly theory. The course was mostly theory, and I'm a visual practical learner. So I was like, you're saying words, yappa yappa, means nothing. This means nothing to me. And I ended up dropping out because I was freaking out. And I was like, I'm busting my ass to finish this degree that I am not enjoying and that I don't feel like I'm learning anything in. And I'm going to finish it with a piece of paper that doesn't actually reflect any knowledge that I feel like I confidently have. And then I started working in a community theatre level sound company that would do musicals like for real rich private schools or like community theatre shows. And I learnt everything there on the job during load-ins from people who knew way more than I did. But that meant that my knowledge and my skill set was knowing how to get to the outcome, but having no idea how to explain what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or like the names of things. Like if someone was to tell me like a really technical phrase of like, I need you to do this, this, and this, I'd be like, and what is that exactly?
Yeah.
Whereas if they were like, this is the outcome we need this camera to work, we need this speaker to work, I'd be like, okay, I can do that. Yeah. Can't tell you what I'm doing and why and what it's called. So if I've had to learn all of the terminology for those things again, because I learned in a situation of like, this needs to get done, this is how we do it. Because someone would just show me, this is what we're doing, this is how you do it, you go away and do the rest. And I was like, great, I can do that. But I can't teach it to someone because I can't explain it. And if someone explains it to me in that terminology, I'm just looking at them like the mothership's calling me like, can you tell me that but dumber? Have you ever had any spooky experiences while working in old theatres or living in random accommodation? We had that fucking cellar in Adelaide.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, so we had the demon cellar in our little old Victorian house in Adelaide.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was.
I never went down.
I never touched that door. I was too scared to even stand on the door.
Oh, no, Shane and I went in for sure.
Yeah. when we were on tour in Adelaide for Tina, Ella and I lived with our friend Tom in this beautiful house in Adelaide, which was so much fun. But in it had a wine cellar that was like kind of not meant to be gone into, because that wasn't words, because
It had a lot of water
it had like
damage.
water damage in it, which is why we got it also at a cheaper rate, which was sick. But it was a door in the floor, like just on the floor in one room. It was just a door, which I question the structural integrity of a door like that being the door
It was a
into
solid wooden door.
That's why I didn't stand on it. I was too scared.
I didn't stand on it. I didn't walk on it. I didn't open it.
We went down there. It was a paint can. There was a paint can on one of the shelves. It wasn't that bad. And it
Terrifying.
just smelled damp.
I had one in this theatre.
Did
In
you?
The Princess. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, Anthony and I like tried to recreate it to see if I was losing my mind or it was something else.
Oh no, I do remember.
Yeah.
I do
We were in Load-In, and you know the dressing room that the Tina, Alternate and Rhonda share, and there's that
Yes.
bathroom in the middle?
Yep.
So I'd gone in to use a bathroom that was in the middle of two dressing rooms. There were no cast there yet. It was just a free bathroom, okay? Chill out.
Don't look at me like that.
Don't look at me like that. And this room, it goes in like a through shape. Like there's a room, and a bathroom that connects them. So I'd gone in to the one on the left, the Tina alternate dressing room. I'd closed and locked the door behind me because I thought it was just the bathroom to that room. I didn't know they were connected. And then I'd gone into the actual bathroom, again, closed and locked the bathroom door behind me because I didn't want just like a random crew member walking in while I'm doing my dissociation pee. And then I'd closed the bathroom door, obviously, to go to the bathroom. But then I realized you could go out the other way. While I was looking at the door between the Rhonda dressing room and that bathroom, big knock on the door that I had just closed, like the bathroom door. And I went, oh shit, someone wants to come in and use the bathroom. Okay. And I left out the Rhonda dressing room. And then when I was in the hallway, I went, I locked both those doors.
Someone couldn't have come to the bathroom door because the door before
that was closed.
Yeah.
So then I told Anthony, so we went back and he was like, maybe someone knocked on that first door and it sounded like the second one. So I'm in the bathroom while he's knocking on that door and like knocking on all these doors to check.
Oh my God.
Nothing. Things that you wish performers knew about your job and things that you wish punters knew about your job.
There are so many things about my job I wish cast knew. Some do, some don't. Just how long we spend at the theatre that they don't, I think. Like some
they
days
get it, but they don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some days still that I will be like, oh, I've been here since this time in the morning. And they're like, oh, what? What for? And I'm like, cast change.
Yeah.
Like we're here 3 hours before the show to make sure that we've got the correct schedules for the day. So everyone's aware of who's on and off and anything we need to do for the show. But I think they just forget sometimes.
Yeah, which everyone's absorbed in their own job and their own responsibilities.
Yeah.
But I do think I think the crew have easier access to this because we do work so closely together, especially in like a bump in and a technical period where we
Yeah.
see a lot of what each other does.
Yeah.
But the cast only really arrive when they are needed and they're let go when they're not needed. So
Yeah.
they're not forced to like sit around and watch other people work the way that we are.
Which the whole point of our jobs as well is just like we make sure that the show is safe and comfortable for them to be able to do their jobs.
Yeah.
So understandably, they don't know a lot about what we do because
It's already done.
It's already
Yeah.
done. They
Yeah.
don't really need to. We just make sure that they can do the job to their best of their ability.
If someone actually takes an interest in what we're doing with sound, I'm like, oh, you value me, even though I'm not on stage. Because there is this, I think the reason that it gets touchy is because deep down we all know that there is this subconscious belief that what the cast are doing is the most valuable thing in the show, which can be a really hard subconscious belief to swallow when you're there 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, hurting yourself to get the show together. And they stand on the stage at the end of the show and get all the applause and the people out the front at stage door are like, oh my God, you were incredible. And we just walk out.
It's weirdly though, that's kind of what subconsciously was pushed on us like at uni and things. Like you're taught that's like it's kind of about them. And if they don't see anything else going on, you've done your job well.
Yeah.
And it's like we had this conversation the other day where it was just like you're also kind of told don't talk to the cast.
That's
You
what
do-
I was going to
yeah.
say. Yeah. So like one of the things that I want people to know is that there's a divide between cast and crew, and there's more so between lighting compared to sound or stage management because you work closely with the cast. You talk to them every day and all that kind of stuff. But I was taught as being a stagehand and in particular venues and things like that, that you don't talk to the talent. You don't go up to them. You do not talk to them because they're not here to talk to you. They're here to do a job. You're here to do a job. And that is for the safety as well, because as a stagehand or a venue crew, you will work with high-profile people. Like I worked in the Opera House. I saw so many high-profile people, so many celebrities and things, and it's you do not go up to them because they're also safe in that venue, away from people asking them about their lives and asking them for
But that also
autographs
denies
and-
them the opportunity to just be treated like a normal person.
Yeah.
Like to be in a work, like I understand that
Yeah.
idea, but wouldn't it be so nice to just be in a workplace and be treated like just another person working?
Well, I mean, and it does happen, and it's with the crew that works with them closely. I don't need to talk to cast most of the time to do my job. I'm there, and I'm there to do what I'm supposed to do. But there's nothing in my job that requires me to talk to cast. And I just think a lot of cast don't realise that we're taught to do that. So then
they think you're unapproachable or you don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, but I'm not supposed, like, I can now in our jobs.
We've been
now.
on tour for 2 years with these people.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was a stagehand and when I was in particular venues, I was not allowed to do that. So then it going into a position where I am now allowed to do it is a bit hard still because there's no reason other than just saying hello. Yeah. So I wish people knew that about it because it kind of it affirms the divide as well. Which sucks, and you slowly break it.
But then you get to the end of a tour of like 2 years and you end up realizing that you really get on with someone and you're like, oh, if only for the last 4 cities we just had a conversation.
Speaking. Yeah.
My one for performers is that, and this is, again, not really a fault of their own. They are shielded from this in a way that I don't think is beneficial, and I will stand on this soapbox for the rest of my life. It would benefit everyone if cast were more aware of how monitoring worked and if it was something that was discussed. Because for those who don't know, during the process of a show, somebody in the sound department will be monitoring microphones to make sure nothing breaks, to make sure that people are good before their mics hit stage, all of those things. That means, and what I think should be taught to cast members, because a lot of people are really confronted when they realize that someone can hear them at all times. And there is so much etiquette around monitoring that, like, you don't need to eavesdrop on people. You don't need to listen to their conversations. But even still, you can still catch words of things. And it is then on the person monitoring to keep secrets or hold these things behind a closed door, even if they are confronting, awful about somebody else, like all of those things. Or if, maybe they sound like they're hurt or they're really upset, you then see this person for the rest of the day knowing that they were crying 2 seconds ago because you caught 3 seconds of weeping, and you can't be like, hey, are you okay? Even if you genuinely care. If cast were taught, the moment you hit deck or you hit the level of stage that you are on where the stage is, someone could hear you.
Yeah.
Be careful what you say. Be careful what you talk about. That would remove the pressure off the mic tech. It would also be great for them. The difference between what I would say if I thought maybe somebody could potentially maybe hear me, or I know that nobody can hear me, is huge. I don't think it protects their privacy. I don't think it protects the relationships between people. I also don't think it helps if they don't know how their microphones work and just how much is being picked up, because then that doesn't help with their offstage singing or the things that they need to do on stage, how their microphones work. So I wish that was more of a discussion.
Absolutely.
For punters,
Oh yeah, I don't have anything for punters.
I feel like my one for punters is for everybody. And it's that if an issue hits stage, it is against all odds. And it is not because the cast or the crew typically have done their job poorly, don't care about their job, or aren't skilled at their job.
Yeah.
We are working with technology. We are working with people. All of these things have to be monitored, managed, and they all fail. They
I like
all
to
fail
say that
without a doubt.
electricity is a fickle bitch.
Truly.
Yeah, sometimes it just does not work.
100%.
Sometimes technology just fails you.
But that is the magic of theatre. The magic of theatre is that it's a real performance being done live by people who are all very talented in their individual fields. Yeah. It will fail at some point. But it is not fair to then say, oh,
that was crap.
That person wasn't in their dome they weren't lit properly, so that they must be shithouse. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Someone's
And we're
mic
all
breaks
human.
on stage. Yeah. To be like, oh, so the sound was awful. To be like, you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Well, like, I saw a review once for an issue that we had on this tour, and they were like, oh, sound was bad, very obvious mic issues on stage, not sure why they didn't fix that. I was like, you think that I just let that happen?
You think I can
Like,
run
I was like,
on
oh.
stage?
She's
to
like,
fix
hold on a
that
minute, stop
mic?
there.
Like, I was like, oh, well, that issue happened.
We'll catch them when they're off.
Yeah, like these things happen.
Yeah.
I feel like ever since COVID as well, like people in the audience don't have as much respect.
Yeah,
Watching
theatre etiquette
shows,
is
it's horrendous.
lost.
I got to watch the show yesterday for the first time in a while, or watching Anthony mix, and the amount of phones that went off one after the other while people trying to watch, like in quiet moments, and like with a lot of the themes in our show as well, just having a phone cut through the tension on stage is
Awful
just
timing.
so sad. Like
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of theatre etiquette that's gone down the drain, sadly, with people coming to see shows.
Yeah.
I think they forget they're not watching Netflix on their TV.
Yeah.
People, I've noticed that in the cinema though.
Yeah.
Like, when I go into the
absolutely.
Cinemas have been
movies,
awful
people just
too.
yabba yabba yabba. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you are not in your living room.
wait for
Yeah.
it to come out on streaming, friend. What are
Yeah.
you doing? Do you have any intentions of climbing ranks within your department? Why or why not?
I technically already am.
Yeah.
Both on Phantom and on Tina, I've started out as an assistant stage manager, and by the end of the two, I finished as a deputy stage manager. And I am content in staying in these two roles for a while. Yeah. But it has been nice to step into a higher role and learn a lot of things to do with that, because deputies call the shows. And I do that as an ASM, but there are so many other more admin things that I have needed to learn. So that's been a really great thing to do.
I do have an intention to go to deputy eventually. It's not happening in the next show, but hopefully just beyond that. Unfortunately, it's good because I have to learn, and I'm excited to do that. But there is a lot of things that I have to learn that I don't do in my current job, which means following around my current deputy.
Yeah.
And asking as many questions of her, and like there's a lot that I don't know. Like it's a lot of networking and power racks and data rack stuff that I have to learn that I just do not know now. But I have another 2 years now to learn that stuff. But yeah, eventually I want to go to deputy. I do not have any intentions currently to go further than that. Partly because I'm not ready for that. I don't want to do that. Like that's not in my
Once you get to the
sights.
next step,
Yeah.
maybe you can assess.
Yeah, and then I'll think about it.
Yeah.
But currently, eventually, yeah.
I kind of had to make a choice when we were going into the position of like changing over from this show into our next one, in discussion with our associate sound designer, of like what is important to you, because there was an opportunity of like, if you want to move up and be a deputy, that is something we can look at for smaller scale shows or things that have less of a technical requirement that you could step into because you haven't been a deputy before, so that's easier to move you up. Or you can continue on in the role that you're currently doing on a show of XYZ scale or whatever. And I ended up making the choice to continue on as a mic tech because I care less about climbing the ranks and more about just enjoying my job every day.
Yeah.
And learning new skills makes me
Yeah.
excited. And on the next job that we're doing, there are so many more things that I have to learn. The new show in itself will be something that I have to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be working with a fucking good team, and I learn a lot from and who invest heavily into me and my professionalism. I made the choice that it was more valuable for me to be there, even if I still have the same job title or position, than it would be to go be a deputy somewhere else on who knows what with who knows.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm very happy in my job currently. As a swing, I do so many things, and it's nice and it's fun, and you learn those skills in those as well. So, like, eventually it'll happen, just not yet. I like it.
What is something that you're trying to get better at in your role? What is the next skill you want to learn?
I think I still stand by patience. It depends on the day, but like I'm still,
Yeah, that's an overall one.
I can be a very impatient person in just very small things to do in my job, which I really need to be able to like take a step back and just evaluate those things. And I've had some decent mentors over the years, so I can actually see people do that and be like, that's what I need to get to.
And isn't it a bitch?
It's
To be, especially to be like quite a hothead. I reckon I've got a temper.
Yeah.
I reckon I am my father's daughter. Anthony, incredible patience. Can bust out the most like professional, gentle, kind, encouraging response to anything. And I'm there like, nah, but fuck them.
Yeah.
Just regularly talking me off a ledge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did you?
Even just being in this like deputy role for Tina has taught me so much of that much. Like, and I only started this maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I have taken in so much of that so far. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh wow, this is a lot. So that's something I'm still trying to work on. That's a skill I'd like to have one day.
Yeah, even like my relationship with Shane, my head of department, he's an incredible mentor in an industry that works on having mentors. Our industry is incredibly run by having mentors.
Because it's not guaranteed that you'll get one.
No.
It is not
Yeah.
in their job description
No.
to invest in us the way that they do. But I can, with
And
my
they-
full
but
chest,
they
say that
do.
Anthony and Shane absolutely do.
Yeah, and they're so good at what they do, and they are so patient, and they're so good at the interpersonal relationships between departments as well. It's actually like wild to see how
Which
good they are.
I
at
would
it.
argue is like the main unexpected skill of a head of department is that they have to do that to that level, which is insane to me.
Yeah, for sure. Another skill in my job. I mean, I would say like the networking stuff. There's a lot of stuff about like systems networking that I don't fully grasp right now that I think is one of the next things I'd really like to understand and get fully familiar with. Because right now I'm plugging cables into things, into splitters, into we have internet. And like there's that kind of stuff. I'm just plugging things in where they tell me to plug it in, but I don't fully grasp.
Mine's exactly the same.
Like I get it, but I don't fully grasp why we're doing it that way. So I would really like to understand.
Mine is exactly the same. I'll be sitting in a room listening to like Anthony and Luke talk about the things that they're doing and why, and I'm like,
Good.
yeah, these words mean anything to me.
Absolutely.
Last one, which I didn't send to you.
Okay.
It's 2 questions. What has been your favorite moment or memory in this current tour, and what is a moment that you felt proud to be doing it?
Ooh.
I'm going to roast you both with emotions while you think about it. But my favorite memories of this tour have been you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Like the 3 of us on tour together, they've all been my favorite memories.
The goons.
The goons.
It's
I
been so
am
much fun.
incredibly devastated that I am not moving on to the next show with you
you'll
both.
never get rid of us. So don't
I
you fucking
absolutely,
worry.
but like being able to spend every day with you both has kept me going throughout this tour so many times.
It's been so helpful.
Yeah.
so helpful to have that out of work relationship throughout a tour. That's going to
That
stick.
we
past.
just get each other too.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed genuine friendships with the people that you work with. You might be able to have like respect for each other and get along in a workplace, but you're forced to be with this group of people the most you'll be with anyone in your life for 2 years by circumstances that are not, they're your people. You get very lucky if you find your people on a show like this.
And by extension, what makes me proud to do it is that I have had moments, particularly in load-ins and techs, but I look at you two and then I look at like our higher ups and the older people that we work with who are in control of everything, like our Prolexes, you know, like our TD and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's our relationship is their relationship, but they've been in this job for decades.
Yeah.
And that's going to be us as we continue
Oh,
in this industry. And I think about it every time I see you two, and I'm like, we are all basically in the similar levels, you now in deputy, but we're all in like the same, we were in the same position in our respective departments, and we will be those people decades in the future.
beautiful.
And it's gorgeous, and I love it.
I'm a cry.
Yeah.
I'd say that's definitely one of my big ones.
Yeah.
It's the friends I've been able to make throughout the show, because I find a lot of the other shows I've had, I've maybe had like
friends we made along the way.
like other shows. I feel like I've maybe grabbed like one person that I still sometimes see every now and again, but this one I've definitely formed a lot closer bonds with people on this show. We were also kind of forced to as well. Like I feel like in a way, but like in Sydney, like things were very difficult for a long time being at work, but the people that we were with made it.
Yeah.
Like when we were in the show, you were still with the people on deck having a good time.
Yeah.
Regardless of what else was going on, we could all stop and do our jobs and just enjoy the show.
It's a fucking hard show.
It's a
Tina is
hard
the
show.
hardest show for my plot. The first time we ran Act 1 in completion, I laid on the floor and cried in Fight No More.
no
Just
way.
on the deck, just cry. Because the Stan's plot is fucked.
It's
A
insane.
plot is fucked.
Sure.
It's insane.
Yep.
I just was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
What is this job?
Yeah. Though, like, I feel like a more work one for me, I think, is having not learned the call for a whole year on this show was really difficult for me, because calling is one of my favorite parts of stage management.
Yep.
I get so much joy out of doing that. So finally being able to do that for the first time by myself was the most satisfying I think part that I finally
was
got there, that
proud
I
too.
went and cried when I got home, and I was just like, finally happened.
And it's an
I was so excited.
insane call.
It's
Especially
insane.
in the mega mix and some of those bigger numbers. It's insane.
But those are the moments that bring me so much joy when I call. They're just so satisfying.
I had to practice pressing the button before I started learning the op because I was like, Alex, go, Alex, go, Alex, go.